All right, I want to talk about a story today that's gone pretty under the radar, but it's a familiar one. A January 6th defendant is back in court today, as I record this, facing charges of kidnapping and essaying a woman. That's right. We have seen this so many times with the individuals that Donald Trump pardoned from January 6th. He pardoned like 1,500 people. And when he was asked, hey, do you think you should look into maybe like the history of these individuals, if they've committed violent crimes before, because maybe that would change your opinion on if we should let them be out in public. But Trump said something along the lines of, I don't have time to do all that. So he never did. And now we're seeing over and over and over again these individuals either reoffend and do something terrible or be caught for things they previously did. So I want to loop you into this story because it is absolutely insane. Before we do, though, again, this is a familiar story, not just with January 6th, but with people around Trump. And now, obviously, Trump himself, the Epstein files. Does anyone remember this? I made a video about this at one point. Republican legislator in South Carolina agrees to plead guilty to child sexual abuse imagery charges. This is RJ May. He won Moms for Liberty Representative of the Year in 2023. Moms for Liberty being the group that pushes all this tremendous amount of hate on the LGBTQ plus community and claims that, there's some big conspiracy going on in schools to turn all of our kids trans. It's disgusting. It's gross. And RJ May, that was his whole thing. Oh, we need to protect the children. We need to go after the LGBTQ plus community because they're doing this. It was gross. Of course, it was projection, a Republican member of the South Carolina State House, whom prosecutors say used the screen name Joe Biden 69, agreed on Friday, this is from a while ago, to plead guilty to distributing essentially material involving children. We go to the next story. Again, a similar one. Mega church pastor and ex-Trump advisor pleads guilty to crimes relating to children. This is somebody who's actually part of Donald Trump's campaign in 2016. This is the video of him getting arrested. Take a look.
What I'm just happy that it is over. I feel good about it. It's behind us.
What does this do like?
I don't know that I have words for that yet.
And again, I want to point out, because sometimes it can get lost in translation, that there are real victims attached to this, obviously. And I think when we're talking on YouTube about these stories and we see all these MAGA individuals do insane, disgusting stuff, it's like, wow, that's crazy. But in relation to especially what we're seeing right now with the Epstein files, I mean, there are real victims, survivors behind this looking for justice, and they deserve it. They deserve it. Now, before I loop you back to the original story, Michael Wolff was on a podcast today. Obviously, Michael Wolff has been key to a lot of the information we've gotten about Jeffrey Epstein. He knew Jeffrey Epstein well. He actually interviewed Jeffrey Epstein and asked him about Donald Trump. And he was on a podcast just in the last 24 hours talking about Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with Donald Trump. And I want you to take a listen.
Take it more seriously. And I, among many people, was increasingly alarmed about this and understood that the one person who had the potential to damage this candidacy was Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not the only person who understood that. I think I've said before here that when I was with Steve Bannon when he met Jeffrey Epstein in 2017, and the first thing that Bannon said to Epstein was, "You were the only person I was afraid of during the campaign." So he had this. Trump's candidacy is continuing on. It's unlikely that he would get to the end, but it's unlikely that he would have gotten as far as it had gotten by this point. I was trying to encourage Epstein to use what information he had to get Trump. And in this instance, that would have been an interesting way to approach this. Let Trump publicly tell a lie, then expose the lie. Now, Epstein, And this is because he would go back and forth, and I think he would entertain this possibility that he could do this. But at the same time, Epstein was, without a doubt, very much afraid of Donald Trump. So, in the end, I never got, well, I mean, we can get to that. In the end, I think that he was starting to get to this point that he might publicly talk about this relationship, but then he was arrested and died.
I mean, that is nuts. That is crazy to hear and to think about. We're understanding so much more about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. Obviously, they were best friends. There's no doubt about it. And there's also no doubt that Donald Trump knew what was going on and what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And it's becoming increasingly clear that Epstein was scared of Trump. He was terrified. He knew that he could use a lot of this information to either, derail his presidency or to hurt Trump as the relationship started to fall out, but he was scared of Trump. I wonder why. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Let me loop back to this original story, though, because I want to give you some information on this. This is a video from CBS News today, and I really want you to internalize this because, again, the President of the United States pardoned 1,500 people who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6th. This is one of them. We have seen so many examples of practically this exact same story happening with January 6th defendants. We've seen so many examples of January 6th defendants not just getting caught for, things that they did previous to January 6th, but we've seen so many January 6th defendants being arrested for things that they did in 2022, in 2023. Awful things like domestic abuse, drinking and driving, getting people killed. I mean, it's crazy that more people don't talk about this. Take a listen.
Another January 6th U.S. Capitol riot defendant is back in jail, back in trouble with the law. His name is John Banuelos. Over the weekend, we learned he'd been arrested in Cook County, Illinois. First, let me tell you about his January 6th case. That's him allegedly on the grounds unlawfully at the Capitol. He's the only January 6th defendant who was accused of pulling a gun out and opening fire into the air while amid the mob. He was among the later waves of arrests. He wasn't arrested until March 2024. His case hadn't even gone to trial when the big clemency issue came from President Trump. All those pardons and commutations, his case was just dismissed. Banuelos was always a distinctively defiant January 6th defendant. You'll recall my reporting from early 2024. When he was in court, he was saying something to the judge. The judge urged him to be careful with his words until his case was closed, and Banuelos responded, "Trump's going to win re-election in November anyhow. I got nothing to worry about." He appeared to be prescient about that. Here's his new booking photo in Cook County, Illinois, picked up by the sheriffs October 17th. According to police records obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, he was picked up outside a Burger King after he was spotted by law enforcement, stopped as a passenger in an Uber, a rideshare vehicle, taken into custody. Why? There was an open warrant issued October 1st out of the Salt Lake City, Utah area for an alleged crime in 2018 near Salt Lake. Now, he does not have a defense attorney in this case. We've not been able to reach him for comment. But the charges against him in Utah include aggravated sexual assault and aggravated kidnapping for luring a woman to his home and allegedly assaulting her there. According to the charging documents, the victim reports that Banuelos aggressively kissed her, punched her in the head. When she tried to punch him back, he got really angry. Banuelos then grabbed her shorts, pulled them off, and threw her, causing her whole body to fly in the air, and used his left hand to attempt to strangle her using a, quote, pressure of 10 out of 10 on her for a couple of seconds. That case now is in Utah. He's in custody in Illinois. He is not the first January 6th defendant to have new interactions with law enforcement. He is just the latest.
I mean, that is so sickening to think about. And again, a child can do this logic. It's almost like if you're willing to storm the Capitol violently, try to, injure others with a firearm. Maybe you're beating police officers over the head. You're tasing them in the neck. You're chanting, "Kill Mike Pence." It's almost like it's likely that either in your past or in your future, or both, that you are a danger to society, that you're going to do things like this awful, horrendous, deranged shit and hurt other people. And again, we've seen it so many times over and over and over again. And so we bring this full circle, again, to Donald Trump and Epstein. We see it with MAGA consistently, this projection protecting the kids or, law and order. We care about law. They don't care about anybody but themselves, especially Trump and the individuals in office. And so today, we actually had 24 Epstein victims send a letter to Congress just in the last few hours. Quote, "Dear esteemed members of the Senate and House of Representatives, we write you as the family of Virginia Giuffre and as fellow survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and their co-conspirators. You have the ability to vote to release the Epstein files and with it, deliver a promise the American people have waited for far too long. We implore you to do so. There is no middle ground here. There is no hiding behind party affiliation. The testimonies you heard are just a fraction of the unimaginable suffering endured by more than 1,000 victims alike." And I encourage you to go read the rest of this letter. So what is Donald Trump doing? Well, on Truth Social, he's saying, in other words, the Democrats are using the Jeffrey Epstein hoax to try to deflect from their massive failures, in particular, their most recent one, the shutdown. Donald Trump saying it's a hoax. It's not real. The survivors, the families of victims who voted for Trump to release these files. He's like, oh, it's all bullshit. It's a hoax. Don't listen to them. When he was asked about it in the Oval Office, he said this.
Respond to these Epstein emails that were released today.
He said nothing. He said nothing. He doesn't want to talk about it. The White House is having meetings about it in the Situation Room. He's tweeting that it's a hoax. I mean, this guy's a disgrace. Truly a goddamn disgrace. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments down below. I really appreciate all the support lately. Truly, it goes such a long way. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the like button. Why not? It goes a long way. The links to my other social media accounts will be in the description down below. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you in the next video.